Hello everyone. A little bit later than planned, here is the video explainer for the poems in Eikyū hyakushu on the topic of avoiding heat. As I'm sure you'll have realised by now, if you've been reading the other summer poems in this collection, trying to get through the heat of the summer was a real challenge for the old Japanese aristocrats, and so it's no wonder that so many poems dealing with the season lament the temperature and express a longing for some kind of respite. Avoiding heat as a topic allowed poets to express these feelings directly. 聞くにさえ涼しくなりぬ若松の森の梢の秋の調べに Just simply listening has brought a touch of coolness. The young pines in the forest, their treetops sing the song of autumn. Here, Akinaka describes what one might call the placebo effect of hearing the wind blow through the pine trees, associating this with autumn, and so feeling some relief as that season was conventionally cool. I also have to apologise that the translation of this poem which went out on the mailing list contained an error, as I originally misread the final word in the poem, shirabe, as shirube. Thank you to Steve Nelson for pointing this out to me, and so giving me a chance to correct this here and in the version on the website. 大原やおぼろの水に雪降れば夏は落ちなる物水をありける When at Ohara, misty waters brush me by. Summer is a distant thing indeed. Now, there are two poetic locations, Utamakura, called Oharano, or just Ohara. One was to the west of Kyoto and closely associated with the Fujiwara family, as Ohara no Shrine, which venerated Kasuga no Kami, the family's patron deity, was located there. So the shrine was often visited by emperors to pay their respects. In the early Heian period, the area also became an imperial hunting ground and was often visited for that purpose, so you get poems covering both of these different senses. Later in the Heian period, however, Ohara became more strongly associated with the location in the foothills of Mount Hiei, to the northeast of Kyoto, which was frequently used by people wanting to withdraw from the world for religious reasons, and this sense came to predominate. Nakazane's poem here would seem to be referring to the second of these locations, if only because the distance of summer could be taken as a metaphor for the distance from the mundane world of the religious ascetic. Mizu wa yoshi, atari mo shimi ni fukisuguru, kaze sae sayuru tamakawa no sato. The waters are fine, and the surrounds too are keenly blown by the breeze, cooling the estate at Tamakawa. Tamakawa in the final line here literally means Tama River. Now, there are in fact 7 different Tama rivers mentioned in poetry, and you can find them almost all over Japan. In his poem, Toshiori is referring to a river in Setsu province, identifiable as such by the fact that he's used Tamakawa no Sato to refer to it, the estate at Tamakawa. The river was a famed spot for viewing Deutsche flowers, and many poems mentioning it mention them too, although Toshiori has chosen not to do so here. Remnants of the river remain in Takatsuki, to the northeast of Osaka, but alas, the Deutsche are long gone. Suzumu tote shizu no maruya o tachitsureba, hodonaku ase no irinikeru kama. Thinking to cool myself, a poor man's reed-roofed hut did I erect, but in a moment sweat had entered within. This poem is a demonstration that the poets did not feel bound by the most formal rules of poetic etiquette when producing their poems for this collection. I have to say I do like this poem, as it captures the reality of summer in Japan when, even indoors in the shade, you can do little but remain still and perspire. But there's no doubt that had Tadafusha presented a poem using as coarse a word as sweat, ase, in a poetry competition, it would have lost on the grounds that its diction was inappropriate. Tamadare no mizu sawagu made kaesu kaze, yodo no nochi mo suzushi karikeri. Gem-strung curtains rattle noisily, turned by the wind. After stillness returns, then all is cool. The initial expression in the original poem, tamadare no, which I've translated as gem-strung, is a poetic device known as a makura kotoba, literally pillow word. Makura kotoba were conventionalized expressions which were used before other words to add an additional image to them, and often simply to make a poem with the right number of syllables. If you look on the website under commentary, you'll find some more material on Makura kotoba if you're interested. Tamadare no was conventionally used to modify words like misu, curtain, which is why kanemase has it here. Although the image of a gust of wind rattling a beaded curtain and making you think it's cool, even if it might not be, is charming, I think. And a similar type of poem to Akinaka's above. Oretachite shimizu no sato ni sumitsureba, natsu wo hoka ni kikiwataru kana. Descending to sand in spring waters, at that estate have I made my home, so summer so far away does sound. By Higo. Natsu kureba, fuseya ga shita ni yasuraite, shimizu no sato ni sumitsukunu beshi. When summers come beneath the crude hut's roof do I take my ease, and in spring waters at the estate must I make my home. By Daishin. Now, I have to say I love these two poems. Higo and Daishin were sisters, and so you could imagine them as two young women escaping together from the heat of the capital to a family estate in the country. Here, free from the decorous restrictions of the court, and where they could be confident they wouldn't be observed, they could perhaps dress less constrictingly than normal, actually go outside, and wonder of wonders, dip their bare feet in the cooling waters flowing from a spring on the estate. It must have been heavenly, and given them both a highly illicit thrill. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this short video on avoiding heat. Next time, we start on a series of topics about animal birds in summer, with summer insects. See you then.